I watch a lot of true crime documentaries and series and stuff, and I like to watch the ones that, as best as possible, don't involve murder, because genuinely, I'll be like, oh, this is wild, but this is also very sad. So I like the ones where it's like a robbery. You know what I mean? I like when it's like a huge drug bust, something you can really sink your teeth into without being like, oh, there is a family to be sad for. You know what I mean? And what I love is the process of when the person is sure they're not going to talk. You know what I mean? They'll bring somebody in, and when the person gets brought in, some people really hang tough. Some people, you know, door slams behind them. I've never been to jail, but I hear the doors are heavy. Door slams behind them. They actually get more tough. They sit in an interrogation like, what? I'm not gonna tell you nothing. You want something out of me? You got the wrong one, okay? And then there's other people, that door slams, and as soon as it slams, they're like, listen, I wasn't there, all right? It was Robert, it was Terry, Robert and Terry, it was their plan anyway. If anything, I'm an innocent bystander. I was just in the car. Y'all know when y'all arrested us, I was in the back seat. That's for a reason. I wasn't even the getaway driver. I thought we were going to McDonald's. Like, just, there are some people who snitch so fast. Even the police can't write it down fast enough. Police are like, well, we got it on tape too, but yeah, this is too fast for the shorthand. Imagine you snitch so fast, you make a cop go, hold on. Take a breath. Because you never know who it's gonna be. There are some people who were, you know, whether it was gang activity, it's mob activity, there are people who were like the run of the litter, and they're the ones that actually hold out. They're like, I'm not telling you anything. I don't even think you have enough on me. Let's play, let's roll the dice. And then there are people, no matter how tatted up, no matter how affiliated, it might even run in the family. They might be somebody who is third generation, but they don't wanna be in prison. They don't want to be in jail. And so as soon as they have the opportunity, they tell them everything. Things they didn't even ask. You see a lot of it, you know? Then you have people who at first don't tell. Then they're ready to talk after like a couple years. You know what I mean? After a couple years, you know, have enough mold on your sandwich that you're like, it's really not worth it. Like, nobody coming to visit me. Like, no. That's what makes me wonder what must be going through Ghislaine Maxwell's mind. You know what I mean? Look, I'm no legal expert. But I do find it wild that in this supposed cabal, this supposed billionaire ring of predators, that the only one you caught is the one you're ready to make a deal with. And a deal for what? You know what I mean? Exposing more names? Bringing other people down? Probably not. Probably just being bribed to not say the president's name. You know? And look, I could be wrong. I don't think I am. Because you've already seen Trump float the idea of pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell. We even know from old tapes they thought about pardoning her way back when she got sentenced, you know? And yeah, no, I agree. I'm not a fan of it. She's not here. I'm not a fan. The boo. this is somebody's essence being booed. Like, No, it is genuinely insane what's happening because, Trump floated the pardon. He even was asked by the press if he would pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, and he goes, look, I could, but let's not talk about it right now. What an insane thing to say. You got asked a yes or no question, and you somehow answered worse than yes or no. I've never been doing a test and got a true false and put maybe. I don't know, you the teacher, you tell me. That's insane. Already floated a pardon in front of us, maybe to gauge our reaction. Maybe if there's not enough outrage, the pardon will go ahead. And then DOJ goes have a conversation with Ghislaine Maxwell. And already, I think it was today, just today, she's been moved from the prison and she was in to a minimum security facility somewhere else. Thought we covered this. I too hope she can feel your booze. I hope booze work like laxatives, Ghislaine Maxwell just sitting in jail right now. Booze don't travel that fast, and so it comes in waves out of nowhere. She's having a conversation. Oh yeah, Trump and Epstein were there. Ooh. That's my hope. No idea if that's the case. But, you see this sort of thing happening. It feels insane. It feels insane to watch in real time. This is the only person, the one person that got caught, the one person that's being held accountable. And everybody's so obsessed with the idea of a list or more people or whoever they want to be on the list being on the list, that they forget that there were real people that deserve justice. And the idea that the only person that we've so far got might go free is it's unacceptable, Because you see Trump floating, pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell, and I can't imagine what it must be like to be a Trump aide. Your nose must bleed every day. It's I'm thinking of pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell, and the aide is like, what? I asked you what you want for breakfast. If anything, I think I am a little bit, I'm trying to figure out how to put this. I feel sorry for my friends who didn't see it coming because they still believed in a system, and they still believed in laws, and they believed that jail existed for a reason, and I am, I'm black. So I kind of saw a good portion of this coming. It's anyone who's genuinely shocked that Ghislaine Maxwell might get a pardon and that she's already been moved to a minimum security prison after being convicted, but then talking to the DOJ under new light. Anyone who's surprised by that has never watched the first 48 before. And they think that people aren't going to see through it. This is a lot like when you're in school and you didn't do your homework, but you remembered there was homework right as the teacher says, pass up the homework. And so you fighting. You've never worked a pencil harder. You fighting to get words on a page. It doesn't even make sense what you're saying. You going over the whole scarlet letter as fast as you can. And then you pass it up. Teacher collects all the papers, and you think, maybe I got away with it. All we had to do was 300 words summarized in the last chapter of Scarlet Letter. I think I did it. Pulled it off. Felt like 300. Might have been 290. And then class is going on. Maybe you have to read while the teacher grades the homework, and then teacher says your name. Calls you up to the front. You're like, okay, don't panic. Maybe I did a good job so fast she's impressed. That's a possibility. And then you walk up to the front, and the teacher's like, did you do this just now? And you don't know what to do. You're caught. You're caught. She caught you. But there's another part of you that's like, maybe if I die with the lie, she'll believe me. What? Just now? No, I did this at home. And she's like, you sure? You're like, uh-oh, she's on to me. Yes, I did this at home. And then she was like, oh, okay, great, that's good news. I was worried that you did it just now, which means you wouldn't have your math homework. And then you remembered that this has been math class the entire time. That at least feels like what Trump is going through. Because if Trump was smart, he would have done all this stuff a long time ago when it could have maybe still been believable. But now, everybody sees through it. Oh, it's crazy. It's so crazy. And then, on top of that, this is already insane enough. Already, there are so many ties to Donald Trump, Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, that even a pardon just feels like it would be happening in our faces, right? There's no misunderstanding about the conflict of interest. There's no misunderstanding about what her role is if she does testify in front of Congress or whoever. And there's no misunderstanding about what the quid pro quo is between the two of them. You know what I mean? And even in that moment, on top of all that, Donald Trump floats pardoning Diddy. And it's like, that one doesn't even have anything to do with you. I don't think. Don't you have enough to deal with? That's crazy. As someone who is not in jail, I'm sweating about everybody who's about to be out of jail. This is insane. So then already the public, especially by the media, somewhat potentially unintentional, but the media did a disservice to the public when it came to Diddy's trial, because there's a lot that we know of Diddy. There's a lot that we know that he did, that he's alleged to have done. And I think that the state put forward a remarkably bad case to try to lock Diddy up, because I think from the public's view, they see the trial and you see it through the lens that the media is selling. The media wants you to keep watching, they want you to tune in every day, and so they make it look like he's about to do 10,000 years, right? They really hype this thing up. They never really mention that all the while the trial is going on, pieces are getting dropped. Left and right, charges are getting dropped. There's things that the state is focusing on. There's things that the state is dropping. There's things that we understand that Diddy is at least allegedly done from all the documentaries that came out. You would think that Diddy was 16 OJs, the way that he had documentaries coming out about him every month. Everything Diddy ever did to anybody, they got their own documentary on Tubi, on HBO, on Hulu. Everywhere. Oh, he hung me out of a window. Like just nonstop stories, right? But it's important to remember what he's being charged with and what he's on trial for. So then things would even come up during the trial. Things that are illegal, that they were just talking about plainly, all to get to the thing he's actually being charged with. So as bad as this testimony sounds, as many things that are going on, you have to remember these are not the things he's being charged with. And I think that media got carried away. I think the news got carried away because they finally had something juicy, something big, something that they knew was going to last for days, weeks, months, that wasn't the same old stuff, something that had a bunch of intrigue in it. Apparently there's all these tapes. Apparently he has all this blackmail on all of Hollywood. There's all these things that were supposed to be coming out during the trial, you know? And then the state supposedly makes their case. They read out the verdict. Everyone is sure that this man is about to do 10 million years. And then they read the first one, not guilty. And they start reading them, and there's 5 charges, and 3 of them not guilty. The 3 that carried the most weight, the 3 that had like a minimum 15, 20 years, you know? And then there's 2 misdemeanors. Those 2 misdemeanors he is found guilty of. The people are perplexed. How is he found guilty of these things that are at least tangentially related to the other charges that he hasn't been found guilty for? What's happening, right? And those charges, the things that he was convicted of, they don't carry some mandatory minimum. You know, he could get time served. He could get up to 10 years. He could still do 20 years. But it's not likely that he'll do 20 years because that is the most extreme of cases where you give people the maximum. And I even rewatched a little bit of the reading of the verdict, and I just thought to myself, could get time served. Why would you bother pardoning him? Like, he might already be walking out of jail that day. That's such a crazy thing to do. You don't have enough going on with everybody thinking you were like on an island 152 times or whatever. To be a Trump aide, you must need heart medication because they already try to convince him, look, that looks bad if you just pardon Ghislaine out of nowhere after all this time and everything, after everything she knows and the pictures that y'all are in together, all the pictures that you're 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 in together, the other pictures that you're in together, the pictures that you're in together, all of the pictures that you're in together. Plus, she did have 19 phone numbers for you. That's not a good look either. And then Trump says, I see what you're saying. I understand. All right, look, what we're gonna do, we do best. All right, gonna run a little interference. We're gonna run a little distraction, okay? And we're also gonna pardon Sean Diddy Combs at the same time. Karen, press secretary, must be fighting demons. I can't imagine. Look, everyone, whether it's Kellyanne Conway, it's Sean Spicer, anyone who has had to represent the Trump administration, go out to the press and answer questions. Look, I understand they chose that job. I understand that they chose to be there. But to a degree, you do have to wonder what the conversation is like before they go out. When they get handed a binder, and at the last second, one of the aides says, and he gonna pardon Diddy. So, no matter who it was, whether it was Sarah Huckabee Sanders, anyone who has represented the administration on the news or in the press room or anything like that, there's at least been 1 or 2 days where they had a 1,000-yard stare because they were like, how am I gonna pull this together? Because look, things came out during Diddy's trial, things that made you think, of course, this jury is gonna find this man guilty. They have to look at everything that they've heard, but you gotta remember the things he was on trial for and the things that they heard didn't always line up. There was one day of testimony that truly blew me away in that case, and that's hard to say because plenty of those days were rough to listen to. But there is one day in particular that has stuck with me in a different way than the other days. It was the day that Kid Cudi testified. Now, famously, still somehow allegedly, Diddy supposedly blew up Kid Cudi's car. You're bringing the man who has his car blown up to testify. You would think that that'd be one of the charges. I've never blown up a car in my life. But if I was brought to court to sit and hear testimony of my crimes, I would imagine the car blowing up would be one of them listed. Anyway, they bring in Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi's testifying about the timeline when he dated Cassie, things that happened between him and Diddy, and then he describes a day that is truly harrowing. Kid Cudi is testifying that while he was gone, he was actually, I believe, spending some time with Cassie, that Diddy hears about the relationship, is very upset about it, and Diddy went to and broke into Kid Cudi's house, right? So already, Diddy in your home, that's terrifying. Diddy in your home is the devil's version of Elf on the Shelf. You don't know what he gonna do. You don't know where he gonna be. Woo. So Diddy was in his home. Now, I'm a little fuzzy on this part, but apparently, I believe at least, that it was Diddy's assistant that called Kid Cudi to let him know, hey, okay, ooh, how do I tell you this? There's no good way. Diddy in your house. He is all up in your house. I mean, I drove him. He made me. He's like, where you live? And I was like, and we went over to your house. And so he's in your house. I'm not now, I'm outside. You know, he told me to wait here. I don't know what he gonna do. And so, you know, Kid Cudi rushes home. And not only is he rushing home, he actually, this is at least as I understand it, must have Diddy's number because they had a conversation. And he was like, yo, you in my house? You in my house? Bass in voice, ready to beat somebody down. You in my house? And apparently, Diddy very calmly said, yeah. Kid Cudi better than me. If it was me, I wouldn't have a home anymore. If it was me, I'd be like, all right, then you got it, then that's, I mean, if you're already there. Someone breaking and entering into your home and then calmly telling you they broke and entered into your home is more terrifying than I think y'all are giving it credit for. Because then Cuddy, apparently, according to testimony, was like, I'm headed there right now, like ready to really beat this dude down, right? And then Diddy said, okay, I'll be waiting for you. I wasn't in court. I had to read all this, and I haven't read a novel by Stephen King scarier than what I read between the two of them. Kid Cudi gets home, Diddy's gone. He walks into the house. Now, that's braver than me. I would assume he's already planted a bomb somewhere. But Kid Cudi walks into the house, is looking around, assessing the damage, and while Diddy was there, he put Kid Cudi's dog in the bathroom, then opened all his Christmas presents and left. That is so insane. We are dealing with pure evil. That is so insane. Open all his Christmas presents. How is he all at once one of the most menacing figures that hip hop has ever seen and a third grade bully? How is it possible that both of these characters hold the same space in the same body? Because that is so particularly evil. He said, I walked over, Christmas presents unwrapped. I opened the bathroom door, my dog confused. And why wouldn't the dog be confused? Let's, for a moment, if you will, put yourself in the dog's paws, all right? You're a dog. You're a dog. And you're at home, chilling, as you should be. And then the door opens. Oh, Papa? No, it's not the owner that you love. It's Sean Diddy Combs. I don't know what type of dog Cudi has. I don't know if it's a Scooby-Doo type dog, but I imagine any dog would be like, ready? And then Diddy walks over to you confidently, like he knows you. And then he puts you in the bathroom and you're like, okay, I guess that's the best possible outcome. Oh, wow, okay, oof. I thought something way worse was gonna happen. I'm not gonna lie to you. Wow, that's crazy. From what I've heard about you, the bathroom, man, I don't love it in here, but it's better than whatever you're about to do. And then Sean Diddy Combs opens all the Christmas presents and goes, well, my work is done here, and exits. This is how evil what he did is. He already messed up the call to the police. Because now you're going to call the police and have to explain to the police that the only thing that Diddy stole from you was wonder. Imagine that that call to the police. You gotta call the police and tell them that Diddy, and the police are asking you very reasonable questions. They're over here like, is he still in the home? I don't know. Hopefully that would make this whole thing a bit more serious. Right now he's left it at hilarious, which is a sick thing to do. No, it's truly insane. Not even destroyed, unwrapped. I can't leave this alone until y'all recognize how dirty this is. Imagine. Lots of people here celebrate Christmas. Lots of people exchange Christmas gifts. Imagine if you came home and there just wasn't paper. And now everybody in the family either like happy or disappointed, like, oh, you got me the Theragun that all right, we're like a couple months out, so can I have it now, I guess? Truly an evil man. And Trump is floating, pardoning Diddy. Even before, this is what's odd, even before this Epstein stuff popped up, Trump had floated the idea of pardoning Diddy mid-trial. And I was like, I didn't know they went together like that. That's weird. Imagine being a white man in your 80s and your favorite rapper is Diddy. No Raekwon, no Rakim, no Run DMC, Diddy. Okay. And even then he had floated the idea of pardoning Diddy. And who knows, maybe something happened. Maybe some money exchanged hands. Maybe somebody said something to somebody and started it in motion and everything. But I can tell you this, justice system aside, the only person working hard to make sure that Diddy doesn't get a pardon, it isn't the state. No. It's not like the DA or the lead prosecutor or anything like that. The person working their hardest to make sure that Diddy does not get a pardon, that he doesn't get released back into society is 50 Cent. 50 Cent was so excited when Diddy was arrested. There's a video. You could watch the video. It's about 8 seconds long, but it's very, very funny. And it is 50 Cent laughing in the car when I guess he heard the news that Diddy had been arrested. And this man is chuckling. The joy on this man's face. And then he's chuckling to himself and he goes, he gonna spend Christmas in jail. I've never hated anybody that much. That's so good. Oh, he gonna spend Christmas in jail. He was laughing hard. He was laughing the way that sitcoms used to make people laugh. Like, Christmas in jail. And so when 50 Cent heard that Donald Trump was floating pardon for Diddy, he went to work. He did what he does best. He trolled. 50 Cent just started posting everything bad that Diddy ever said about Donald Trump and tagging Donald Trump. This man, is this your friend? I wouldn't do that if I was you, Mr. President. You won't believe what he said about you. Oh, no. No. No, Donald Trump, this is not one of your African Americans, okay? It's been tough. I've been trying to find, like, really, whether I'm reading or I'm watching, I've been trying to find pretty much any news story that isn't about Trump and Epstein, you know? And I came across one that genuinely shocked me in Florida. They, yeah. In Florida, the Tallahassee police arrested Chuck E. Cheese at Chuck E. Cheese. Apparently, Chucky had done some wire fraud. And so the Tallahassee police showed up to the Chuck E. Cheese, and they were ready to take him in, all right? Cuffs already out. And they arrested Chucky mid-birthday party. You couldn't wait an hour and a half? You know where he is. It's not like he's gonna get far in the costume. They arrested Chucky. Those poor kids. Imagine. Picture, if you will, being 6 years old, and you're having a birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese because the economy is not doing great. But you're having a good time, you're enjoying it, you're like, cheese pizza, so they say. Delicious yum, right? You're just trying to put on a good face. You jump into the ball pit that is not nearly deep enough. The ball pit that is full of children under the balls because every kid thought it was the funniest thing in the world to pop up out of the balls, but that meant that the ball pit was actually a hard surface because it's made of bodies. You jump into the ball pit doing like a big old face plant thinking you're gonna slide down into the balls, and you just bang heads with another child. You get out of the ball pit concussed. Chucky offers you a flat Diet Coke. Look, there's a hierarchy to costumed mascots. Now, the most athletic are gonna go to teams. You ever been to a sports game and you see their mascot stretches before, they doing wild moves like You go to Disney, there's a lot of walking, but it's a lot of poise. It's a lot of like the stances, you know. You get somebody that's doing goofy, and they're really doing goofy. They got the, Chucky. Chucky, as far as like costumed mascots go, Chucky doing a lot of the same. Trying to figure out how to put this. Chucky, the qualifications to be Chucky at Chuck E. Cheese are a lot like the qualifications to work at a Waffle House, okay? You're gonna get in the costume, they're gonna tell you do your best, all right? Do your absolute best, and if somebody swing at you, you can swing back after they hit you the first time. You gotta let them get that first hit in. If you hit first, that's assault, all right? And you'll be fired. But look, if they put hands on you first, then hey, you gotta get it how you live and go ahead and swing on them. So imagine you're surprised when at your 6th-year birthday party, you're celebrating 6 years on this planet, and it hasn't been a great 6. You're a little too young to remember COVID, but you know mom and dad are weird. You clapping with your friends. And Chucky's doing his thing, trying to find the beat. And you're like, I think he doing something. I can't tell. And then the Tallahassee police walk in. And they cuff Chucky right there in front of you for wire fraud. Y'all couldn't wait. You know where he works. He wasn't gonna get away. No, we gotta cuff him right now in front of the children. Traumatize them. Nah, forget these kids. We gotta dish out justice real quick. Now the kids distraught. They over here. You know that? Okay, all right. I'm sorry. It's funny because it's like I can see the kids being like, what'd he do? What'd he do? You know that rumble in the throat when you really cry? There's a certain way you can cry when you're 6 that you never cry again. This is like honestly, a 6-year-old will drop an ice cream and they'll be like, just mixing Disney voices, half Ursula, half Jafar. What'd he do? Let him go, he ain't did nothing. Kids out here vouching for him. He was here the whole time. Because you know that. You know when a kid cry long enough, they start coughing. When a kid get real upset and they full of mediocre pizza. Yo, free Chucky! Yo, free Chucky! Oh. Now you getting arrested at Chuck E. Cheese, they perp walking you slow just to embarrass you. Y'all really couldn't wait till he got out the costume too, because you know he can't walk fast with those feet. He still got the costume feet on and everything. So now they over here. They get Chucky outside, slam him up against that car. patting Chucky down. Why you need to pat Chucky down? That would be wild though if Chucky had like a full-on Glock on him. Like that would be crazy. If Chucky he doesn't care where he is. He could be at Chuck E. Cheese, he could be in the streets, he keep that thing on him. The thing that I think would have been probably the toughest for the police, because I personally read about this, I didn't see video, so I don't know if this happened or not. But it would be hard. It'd be very difficult to, open up that car door. And when they walked him out, they did it in full costume, like the head was still on. Like, that's crazy. This is a personal vendetta now that you have with Charles Entertainment Cheese. That you couldn't at least take the head off in Chuck E. Cheese. Imagine they take the head off. I mean, I'm sure the kids would have been more upset. Oh! Chucky Black! I could have sworn. Anyway. Look, there's not full video that I saw. This is all what I've read, but it's gonna be hard to put your hand on the back of Chucky's head and get him in the car without it looking like police brutality. Because it's not gonna fit. The head is too big. So now you over here, watch your head. Kids at the glass of the door. You know how Chuck E. Cheese built. They at the glass like, no! They beating up Chucky. Police like, no, I'm not. I'm trying to get the head in. No, he won't fit. He can't even feel it like that. No, don't do that. Everybody start recording. Look what they doing to Chucky, y'all. And they take you down to the police station. Perp walking you. Downtown. Imagine if you got arrested that day. For possession of illicit substances. It could be anything. It could be acid, it could be shrooms, it could be anything. And you got arrested for possession. You're not a dealer. They caught you doing, essentially, a victimless crime, trying to enjoy yourself, enjoy your Saturday. Maybe you don't have your life together. Maybe you're not invited to your kid's birthday party. And you get arrested, you're sitting downtown, waiting to be processed, and then Ayo. I know I got a right to remain silent. I know this may hurt me in court. But did a giant mouse just walk through here fully arrested? Oh, thank goodness. I thought I was still very high from drugs. It's insanity, you know what I mean? Now you gotta do everything. How you gonna take Chucky fingerprints? These aren't even functional. I don't know if they feet or hands, but they're not. mug shot too. Those mug shots are cold. They're just like, ready, face me. Turn. Turn. No. Now you gotta sit in holding. Imagine, all you did was get a little drunk. Maybe you get into a fight at a bar, you sitting in the drunk tank, and the only other is Chucky a person? Nobody else in there but you and Chuck E. Cheese. And whether it's jail or a birthday, they never really gave, at least that I know of, Chucky a voice. Chucky was always silent. At every birthday party I had at Chuck E. Cheese, Chucky was silent. You know, do the... Imagine you sitting there with Chuck E. Cheese in jail. You're wondering how your life took this turn. You look over at Chucky, and Chucky mad. Chucky like, you know, I thought I had that wire fraud on lock. I'm wondering who snitched. I'm wondering what went wrong, yeah? You look over at Chucky, and Chucky's like, what you looking at, dog? You got a problem? But all you see is... Yo, you want step? I'm just saying that in this like kangaroo circus of a court and justice system where we know the government is playing in our face, playing with really dangerous people who have done terrible things. If you're gonna pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, if you're gonna pardon Diddy, then at least yo, free Chucky, all right? Denver, y'all been phenomenal. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all. I've had quite a week still trying to distill all of my thoughts and feelings around the presidential debate. Okay. I live in New York, and in New York there are a lot of parks, and in some of those parks you'll see, it's like an iconic thing about New York, that there'll be somebody playing chess in the park, right? And sometimes they're just two old men playing chess or checkers. Sometimes it's somebody that's like, hey, I'll play anybody, I'm practicing for a tournament. And a lot of times it's somebody who's playing chess, but they're playing for like money. Like, you put 5 down, I bet you can't beat me, and I'll put 5 down, and we'll see. And then, you know, speed chess as well. They got the clock next to them, bow, 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 right? And I've played before, and I'm not good at chess. And it's crazy how fast you can lose. Sometimes I'll be playing chess in the park, and he'll be like, checkmate, but it sounds like there's no way. Then I'll grab, I have a chess book, and I'll look at the board and look at the book. Like, damn, okay. That wasn't that many moves. I don't know what else I was supposed to do. you know? And I don't know, I feel like watching the election and watching the debate felt a lot like that. It felt like bad chess moves. We've watched a lot of debates that Trump has been in, and we've gone 2 for 2 this year with having remarkably historic debates, both of which were like, whew. You know what I mean? Like you get done and you're like, whew. Felt like I was up there. And there was a moment in the first debate that was echoed in this debate. There was a moment back when Trump was debating Biden, and I've talked about it before, where there's a second there where Trump looked at Biden, and for a split second, he wasn't trying to be president. He wasn't even trying to debate. He was literally like, hey, he good? Like, no, y'all, stop. Is he good though? It was a different tactic than we've ever seen before from Kamala debating Trump, because she debated him the way that I think a lot of us might debate him. You know? I'm not gonna speak for anybody in here, anybody listening to me. I don't know if you're like a political analyst. I don't know how involved you are with politics, but she debated him the way that I think we debate him sometimes in our heads, which is to be like, what did you just... Because most politicians are not... Hear me out. Most politicians don't behave like people. And when I say that, I want you to understand, I mean, maybe they care about people, maybe they care about getting something good done, maybe they care about forwarding their agenda, but they don't react to things and they don't behave like people, like just regular people. It's why they feel fake, is because they can't just be like, oh, shit. You see, man? Do you see what I mean? And it's why people from 2015 on have gravitated towards Trump, because he feels like they would react. Like he will say, oh, shit. But then you look at someone like Kamala, and she's a very polished person, very accomplished person. But in that debate, she was having moments that for the first time ever felt like moments that we might have up there. Does that make sense? Like when Trump would debate other Republicans leading up to the nomination, or when Trump would debate Hillary or Biden, there was a sense of like, wait, are you not going to say anything about the thing that he just said just now? Why are you staring forward, acting like what you heard wasn't wrong? Why are you like looking to the moderators to fact check? There's nothing more exhausting than when someone who could be a good player is looking at the ref to be like, help! You know what I mean? You say he's lying right now. Like he just lied now, so say it now. Don't later be like, and then they didn't even help. Do you see what I mean? We've watched it happen. We've watched, he was in those debates. Republicans did not know what to do with this man. He was over there telling Ted Cruz to his face, your wife is ugly. And because Ted Cruz doesn't move like a person, doesn't react like a person, he didn't slap him in his face in that moment.
No. Trump has shown that the American people were ready and willing for someone unorthodox. You know how much he would have surged in the polls if he had walked over from his podium and was like, what? And then slapped Trump in his face. I know at least his wife would have liked it. You know? I don't even remember what he said about Marco Rubio. I just remember Marco Rubio looking littler and littler every day. Marco Rubio started showing up. I was like, is he 4'8"? Nobody knew what to do. Journalists didn't know what to do. Journalists were like, but you can't say that about the press. But he did it. What are you gonna do? You know? And so now you watch this debate with Kamala, and we've all heard it and probably said it ourselves that she baited him a lot, but he bit every time. And this is my thing with that, is that decorum aside, don't you want someone representing you that could maybe let something slide? You know, it's got to be tough to be in the public eye. It's got to be tough to be and feel slighted all the time by lots of people that you meet that you don't know and they hate you. But also, you're here to do a job. You're here to do a job on the highest level. So a lot of people won't like you. No matter who wins as president, there will be people who are very upset. Do you really want someone who could be so easily irked? Kamala said, nobody. Kamala said that people leave his rallies early out of boredom and maybe confusion. I don't remember the other thing she said, but she said people were leaving early. And this is what's so interesting about that. We can talk about how much it's warranted or how much of it he egged on or whatever, but there has not been in a very long time a political figure that is as hated as Trump by a lot of people. So a lot of people have said every type of thing about him. A lot of people have drawn him. Do you know how much you gotta hate somebody to draw them? A lot of people, drawings take time. It's one thing to curse somebody out real quick. It's a totally different thing to No, wait, I'm getting his ass. I'm gonna take break, but when I get back, he about to get it, all right? So all manner of things have been said to and about him, about himself, about his family, about how he behaves, about how he actually feels, about Americans in America, all of it. But this thing hadn't been said. And it turns out that this was the thing to say. This was the thing. If you're talking about feelings, this was the thing. And look, as someone raised by black women, don't. Black women know how to hurt feelings. Only a black woman would be like, no, go to his little rally and see. That's how confident she was in what she was saying, that she told us to go. She was like, look, I'm gonna do something I wouldn't normally do. Go ahead and go. You'll leave early, don't worry. That was the thing. That was the thing. And you could see it happen. You could see it, on his face, you could see it happen. This dude who has held the highest office has been called a traitor. He's been called a Russian asset. He's been called all manner of things. But this was the thing. And it's because deep down at his core, even his supporters will admit that deep down at the base of who he is, Trump is an entertainer. And all I'm saying is, as a fellow entertainer, if someone had said, Josh, people leave your shows early out of boredom and confusion, I'd be like, oh, okay, we fighting, say less. This was the thing. That was the thing that like broke through this weird armor. Because I've noticed that Trump specifically has a thing that has always kind of existed in politics, but has never existed to this degree, right? Where Trump has a filter created by his base, by the people who like him, love him, and everything, that he can say whatever he wants, but they will distill it for him for the rest of us. He'll say whatever, and then they will be like, what he meant was. But what he meant shouldn't have been what he said. Because he said this, and you're saying he meant something else, but he also had access to the words you just said. So are you sure he meant what you're saying and not what he said? I'd like to think that when you say something as the commander-in-chief, you mean what you said when you said it. You didn't say something being like, they'll figure it out. And because he has that filter, because that sort of buffer exists between him and like sound arguments and logic. I don't even mean that as like a diss. I literally mean he could say something and then it could spin out past something that he meant for real, right? Because as an example, that's like Trump's vaccine. I know we forget that, and I've talked about it before, but that's like, as far as presidents go, as far as you getting credit for the things you do while you're president, that's Trump's vaccine. But when he tried to say, guys, we did it, we have a vaccine, and his audience booed, he realized what it's like. Oh, I don't necessarily control what goes out, even though I said it. I said you should get vaccinated, and then they booed me. So clearly, it's not like a one-to-one. What I say is it won't be exactly what they do. So now I'm also trying to figure out how to like keep them on my side, but win them over, but lead them. I think in that moment you saw him get really worried and confused, and he immediately backtracked. He was like, or don't. And I said all of that to say that the screen, the buffer, the thing that he usually has, I'm not saying he lost it for good in this debate, but he did lose it a little bit. Because I grew up in Louisiana, and I know people who are like hardcore in the MAGA movement, like people who are like, no, Trump is the guy. He is gonna fix everything, right? I've grown up with these people, and we know each other well. And this was the first time that they were like, that wasn't great. Because even in debates against Hillary, they were like, no, okay, he said the thing, and I know it's a good soundbite for you liberals, but like, this is what he meant. And the thing that they're saying he meant, which is what they heard, which is what they decided to hear, is a reasonable thing when they start saying it from their mouth. So now I'm like, oh, okay, if that's what you think, that's what he said, then I can see why you're still like really gung-ho while I'm more put off by what he said, you know? But this was the first time that there was almost like a shared language. There was like a shared reality around like, what's happening to him right now? And he started to spiral, and he said, hey, look, they asked him a question. I can't remember if it was about immigration or the economy, but they asked him a question that should have been a layup for him. And he was still like, can I address the rallies for a second? Which, as a fellow entertainer, I understand. If someone had said that to me, I would have also been like, hey, listen, let me explain, all right? It was a Friday late show. They were tired, okay? You can't put that on me. And he said, can I address the rallies real quick? Because people don't go to her rallies, all right? They don't go to her rallies at all. The people that go to her rallies, she got to bust them in, and then they don't even have fun while they're there. She doesn't have any snacks. Now I'm paraphrasing, but like... But he did. He hit back with like rallies. They asked him underhanded. Should have knocked it out of the park, and he got distracted by rallies and crowd size and things that make sense as a priority if you're an entertainer. But if you're about to be the leader of the free world, they shouldn't matter as much. You know? And you could see him kind of spiraling after that because he was a little frustrated by like this thing that broke through. Then that never happens. Trump is a very hard person to debate because people like him are very hard to debate because they're not trying to have a debate with you. They're trying to make you look dumb. And because Trump is like very good at making other people look dumb, he's very good at debating. You see what I mean? But this was the first time that he was like, what is she talking about? My crowd. And so, you know, he had a bit of a spiral. And before you know it, he was like, look, they're eating the dogs. They're eating the dogs, they're eating cats, and you could tell in that moment that Trump wanted to say another animal, but he couldn't think of one. Because he says pets, but pets is off rhythm. If you go back and watch, it's like they're eating the dogs, they're eating cats, they're eating... And you can see for a split second the wheels turn of, he's like trying to think of, they're eating the bird. No, we all eat birds. They're eating the pets. You know? And then, you know, Kamala does a thing, and it's a thing that we've done when we've been watching debates, when we've been watching rallies, when we've been watching them on the news. She does a thing that we've done before, that a lot of other politicians have not done on stage with Trump. She laughed at him. And I think there's context to that laugh, because I'm not trying to get too, like, I don't know, like too much of a deep dive into it, but like there's context with that laugh because she's not laughing at him, she's laughing at what he said. And that's really different. It's one thing to say Trump is a joke and Trump is a joke, and you could make the argument that the reason Trump became president was because Obama made him a joke. Do you remember that? Do you remember that? Obama made fun of this man and he just sat there quiet, you know? And then years later, he was like, peaceful transition of power, huh? There's a big difference between laughing at Trump and laughing at what he said. You can think that Trump is a joke all you want, but he laughed his way to the presidency. But then when you laugh at what he says, when you take the power out of what he's saying, that's a very different thing. You know, she laughed at what he said for a second. And then there was a second, it was very slight, but there was a second where she was still smiling, but she wasn't laughing. And then there was a second where she wasn't smiling and she wasn't laughing. And it was reminiscent of like, yo. Yo. No, wait, yo. You know? And that's my thing, is I'm like, I look at that, I'm like, wow, that's different, you know? It was very, very different. And the thing I've noticed in both these debates is that they're not even about who did well. They're just about who did the least poorly. That's what we get stuck on. Like, it wasn't even, last debate wasn't even about Trump performing well, it was about Biden crashing out. And then this debate wasn't as much about Kamala winning as much as Trump. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cat. They're eating flamingos. They're eating the pets. No. And it was the first time in all the times that he's debated that Trump looked 78. Because he's 78. And he's got a lot of energy, so we let a lot of those years slide. We don't feel like he's 78. You know what I mean? Like I've known grandpas like Trump. I've known grandpas that were like, oh, he's got so much energy and he's so spry. And he's eating a lot of fast food. But he's 78. You know what I mean? But I guess this is one of my main things about it, is that like, it was the first time I saw him look out of his element on like a really important moment, you know? And I don't want people to think that this is like, that's it. That's all that needed. Not at all. It's harrowing how little it actually moves the needle. Almost everyone feels the way they felt before, even after we saw what we saw. And we agree that it didn't go well for one person. But we're still like, nah, I'm still gonna go the way I was gonna go. That's interesting, you know, that after all of this, they're like tied. Wow, they're tied. In lots of places, they're tied. It's not even like it's working out to be a tie because all this place and all this. No, in a lot of places, they watched that and they were like, I don't know. That's pretty wild, you know? The first time he really looked 78, because it was the first time he said something that like a grandpa would say right before you put him in a home. You know what I mean? Because be honest, if you let a lot of stuff slide as like a child or grandchild, and then grandpa been living by himself, but if one day out of nowhere, and you haven't seen where he saw this on the internet, he just walks up and he's like, they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cat. You're like, okay, that's the last straw. I let you put the remote in the mailbox several times. But this is the one that I can't abide. This is, no? Because it really has consequence. And I think that we live well enough here, even though I'm not even pretending things are just phenomenal. I'm just saying, day to day, by and large, we do get by. And I think that when you get by, especially comfortably, it can feel like a game. You know, it can feel like something that doesn't matter as much. You know, and it can feel like something that you're just playing at. And I think that, you know, it's important to remember that all the things that these people say, these are very powerful people already, and one of them is going to become even more powerful. Everything that they say, everything they do has ripple effects. You know, they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. It's like a meme. It's like a thing that's starting up. But it's also, which is very, very important, because we did a thing back in 2014, and we've done it ever since, that I don't know how to fix it. I'm just saying what happened from 2014 on. Anyone online that was even all the way from like crazy people down to people who were slightly conservative, right? From 2014 on, were just called Nazis outright. Right? Anything. And even a question, oh, you Nazi, right? To the point where Nazi started to not mean anything. And when it doesn't mean anything, it's hard to make it mean something when like an actual Nazi shows up, right? And I want to be clear here. The thing that Trump said, it is a lie started by a neo-Nazi. I don't care how many people on Twitter try to find something to make it make sense after the fact. It's a thing that a guy said at a community meeting where he was specifically targeting the Haitian community, and he said that we will not be safe the more Haitians we let into it. That's also the other part of the soundbite. Outside of the dogs and cats, this dude was specifically saying, and he gets kicked out of the community meeting. That part also didn't make it into the viral clip, right? And so when people are saying, well, I saw, and they have these fourth-hand accounts of like my brother's, sister's, uncle's girlfriend has a cat that's missing. And they try to put stuff together. There's even a video going around of some people cooking a cat that's from a year ago and not in Springfield. And then that became like evidence. There's another picture of a guy that was walking with two geese that they said he was on his way to go cook, when actually it was found out that this dude was pulling these geese away from a car accident where they got hit, and that he's probably not Haitian. But even so, death threats, bomb threats, all of this horrible, horrific stuff has been happening to the Haitian community to the point where apparently, maybe this isn't true, but apparently even the person in the Facebook group that first posted about, oh, my niece's cat is missing, and thinking, she has even come out and been like, I never meant for it to turn into this. That was just a Facebook post. Maybe she was having a goof with a friend. She didn't think it would come out of the mouth of the former president in a debate where he was flailing. So all these things have real consequences. It's not a game, and we are not chess pieces, you know? And even after the debate, you know, it almost like hijacked the whole narrative of Trump losing the debate and Kamala winning it. Now it became about this weird thing with hate. And it's also already, in that little bit of time since the debate, switched into Africans, because now they were just like, oh, wait, we got it wrong. It's not Haitians, it's Africans that are eating the dogs and cats. And so now it's already shifted just to try to find some truth out of a thing that was a lie, right? And you have J.D. Vance afterwards who, you know, pretty much probably fed that to Trump. And he's sitting there talking to Collins in an interview, talking about, okay, whether we find out that this is somewhat true or only a little bit true, was not willing to call it a lie, right? He says that, you know, we don't have evidence. This is me paraphrasing just for the sake of brevity, but basically we don't have evidence that there's no evidence. And the thing that is like so brain broken about that logic is that it creates a tidal wave of insanity until you can finally make something that you want to be true, right? Because it could ruin anybody's life. For instance, when you look at J.D. Vance, there is No evidence that there's no evidence that he didn't bang a couch. Do you see? Like, do you see how that's an unending thing? How it could ruin your life and never go away? How you can't even sit anymore? Because people see you next to a love seat and wonder? Do you see how insane that is? A lie that we know is a lie? But we'll work our way to figure out how we can make it true, you know? So just please, I mean, look, we watched the debate and it was everything from a little bit boring at times to thrilling. We shouldn't even be debating like this anymore, to be honest with you. We've ruined the debate. The debate is too much like a chess game now, where it's like 90 seconds, 90 seconds, make your move, make your move. That's not how you solve problems. When you go back before debates were televised, the people that showed up were willing to be there for hours. And the candidates had a long time to lay out their position. So there actually wasn't as much of a chance to fully dodge questions. Because they were like, what are you going to do about immigration? And you have until you figure it out. But when it's 90 seconds, you can be like, what are you going to do about immigration? Well, I believe is time up yet? No, they used to take forever because that's as long as it takes to figure out a problem. And it's as long as it takes to figure out what someone's real piece on something is, you know? If you could figure out big problems in 90 seconds, we probably wouldn't have any, you know? So just watching this thing of like, and then, it feels crazy. It makes me feel crazy because I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna work. They're not gonna make us feel like they have a plan in 90 seconds, you know? And there's too much of an opportunity to get derailed, you know? There was one point where it felt like maybe the only time in the debate where Kamala seemed a little angry. There was only one point, and I don't even remember exactly what led up to it, but she basically was talking about how Trump, which I forgot this happened, because when you live in like a 24-hour, 36-hour news cycle, everything is just sort of going, and there's no time to latch on to anything that matters, and there's no time for like real nuance of an issue. You're just going and going and going. But he did invite the Taliban to Camp David. And I remember when that happened being like, aren't they not supposed to be? The Taliban. Okay. And I remember that moment distinctly because out of nowhere, Kamala turned to Trump and said, this. And you can tell she's trying to find a word that won't get bleeped. And I know it because she had to reset. She actually closed her eyes for a second. This. Once again, as someone who was raised by black women, anytime my mama looked at me and went, you. In her mind, she killed me. You know, in her mind, my life flashed before her eyes. She would come back. This former president. All right, that one will work. You know, she pointed out something that we all saw. We just didn't seem to remember. Or maybe it wasn't that big of a deal at the time, you know. It's important to remember that we're not like just playing teams. It feels very much like teams, which I think is why so many people are like dug in, and no matter what happens, they're like, I'm not switching teams. But this is not a game, and we're not chess pieces. You know, it's very important. You register to vote. It's very important that you go vote and everything, because it's not going to be won by memes. You know, you can't like internet your way to fixing everything. You know, because I don't know. I don't know how everyone in this room feels or anyone watching feels. I just know that like I just want to feel comfortable with who is representing me out in the world and in front of the country. I want someone who is willing to maybe move a little bit like I would move. Maybe play chess the way I play chess. And I'm not even good at chess. You know, I just, you know, we all, everyone, no matter where you fall on party lines or anything, everybody wants somebody with a plan. And they asked them. They asked him, you want to repeal and replace Obamacare, and you say that you have a plan. We're asking right now, what is your plan and how would you enact it? And he didn't answer the first time. But when they asked again, they were like, after 9 years, what is your plan to repeal and replace Obamacare? Because I need to be clear here that like, if something is a good idea, a really good idea, I don't care what party it comes from. If something is a smart idea, because I am not playing teams, because I don't feel like this is a game. This feels very real. The things that get said in a presidential debate that are funny, that are a joke for a little while, lead to death threats and bomb threats in real life. All of this is real. So if somebody has a plan and it's a good plan, not only will I hear it out, I might even help them try to make it happen, because it helps a lot of people and it gets us somewhere, right? And so they asked him, after 9 years trying to repeal and replace Obamacare, what is your plan? And he was like, look, I have concepts of a plan. I'm starting to feel like if he had repealed and replaced Obamacare back when he was president, not only would we not have health care, but I'm pretty sure our doctors would shoot us.